So if you've been looking for a fun new project to do this week, stay tuned and I'll show you how to make these super easy scrunchies. Hi there and welcome to Craft with Catherine. So today I'm going to show you how to make these super easy scrunchies. These are surprisingly quick to make. They are super easy. You just need some fabric and some elastic, and then you just sew a straight edge. So scrunchies are super great because they were really popular in the 80s or the 90s, and now they've come back in style. And they're so if you like to make crafts, they're really fun because you can make them in all sorts of different sizes and colors, and then you can coordinate them with your outfit. And you can also make a whole bunch to give away to your friends. So let's get started. So for today's project, it's a pretty simple project. So you're going to need a cutting mat. This is not a sticky mat that you would use for like a Cricut. This is like an actual cutting mat that you would use with like an X-Acto knife. And you're also going to need a rotary blade. You're going to probably want some scissors for trimming stray threads. You're also going to want a thread and needle for sewing the elastic band together. So for that you can use any color thread that you like. And you're going to need some elastic. You're also going to need some safety pins. You're going to need at least 2 safety pins. And you're also going to need some fabric. Make sure that it's wide enough because you're going to want it to be at least 22 inches wide. So if you have scraps laying around, they may not be long enough, so make sure to check the measurements if you're buying any fabric that's pre-cut to make sure that it's wide enough. And I would recommend a straight edge. This is like a plastic ruler to use with the rotary blade. And you're also going to need a sewing machine. First step is you're going to want to measure out your fabric. You can use chalk if you like, but I'm just going to use the measurements that are on the ruler because they're easy to read. So sorry that I can't show the entire mat in the picture, but my camera just doesn't sit up high enough for that. So what I'm going to do is measure 3 inches down, so I can see that that's right along the 3 inches mark with the ruler. And then I'm just going to cut it with the rotary blade from left to right. So now I have a strip of fabric that's 3 inches wide. So I see that this strip measures perfectly 22 inches. So I don't need to cut the edge. Instead, what I'm going to do is just cut it right down the middle. And the great thing about scrunchies is that you don't have to be super precise. If your fabric just measures 20 inches, just go with that. If you can really improvise. The more fabric that you have, the more scrunchy it will look. Like, see how this has more gathers and this is looser because this had this was just pulled tighter, so it will just change how it looks. So it's fun because you can just make a whole bunch of them really easily. So now the next step, I'm going to measure the elastic, and if you don't want to sew it, you can measure it to around 8 or 9 inches, and then when you pull it through you can just tie the ends, but I don't want there to be like a bump, so I'm going to measure it to around 7 inches. And then when I pull it through, I'm just going to overlap it around 1/2 inch and then just sew it by hand shut with a couple of stitches. So now that step is finished. So now I've got the strip here and I'm just folding it in half. And now I'm just going to, and it's going to be folded in half with the right sides together. And you can pin it if you like, but I find you can just, if you sew slowly, it's not a problem. So now I'm going to sew it along the edge. I'm just going to set my margin to just the side of the thread here. So here is the finished tube. So now you just need to turn it inside out. So some people put a pin, but I find it's fine just to pull it through this way. So here you can see the tube is turned inside out. So I'm just going to fold the edge down now, and I'm just going to eyeball it to make sure that it's straight, and I'm just going to finger press it so that there's like a fold here, and I folded it down about this much. And now I'm going to take the elastic and thread that through. And so I can feel the end here, and I'm just going to feed that through the body of the scrunchie. So here you can see the end, and I'm just going to make sure that the seam lines up on both sides. So your elastic might twist a little bit. Try to get it straight if you can, but it's not like the end of the world. And now you just overlap it, and you grab your needle and thread, and you just stitch it. And then I just kind of looped it through to tie it. And now I'm just going to trim the thread away. And now we're almost done. So the side that you sort of pressed in, you feed the other side into it. Just make sure the seams line up. And so here you can see I've just sort of put it through, and now we're just going to sew the edge with the sewing machine. So here we go. So I've sewn that along the edge, and now I'm just going to clean up the stray threads. And there we go. So you can see this one turned out kind of loose. So maybe for more of a gather, 6 inches would have been better. But you can see how you can make a whole bunch and they all will end up looking different. But they're all cute once you tie them on your hair. If you have really thick hair, then you want to, I think like 7 inches is good, because then you can loop it around twice, and you might even want to make the fabric longer, like even maybe like 25 inches wide. It just depends on the width of your fabric. So thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe, and you can find the links to all the materials and the blog post below, and I'll see you next time.